Feels like something's about to happen today. Let's see. Mercadorpa's outpost, a Jagni tribe stronghold. That's a resource totem, a monument left behind by those that picked scrap, trying to keep the area clean. You can make so many amazing things out of wood scrap. It's the chug yard. There are places up ahead far worse than this. That's shut and good. Couldn't just be open, eh? The board mainly has posts from those that used to work at the chug yard back in the days gone. They don't make much sense these days. Not much more to say about the board, but Gizmo is holed up in the underyard here working on that Mekton of his. Oxenol Corporation used to run chugger-chuggers out of here, big machines on rails with smokestacks that fouled the air. The rails used to be filled with chugs packed tight with two-leggeds, like guppos in a tin. You're on the right track. Keep your eyes open. tribe's always scavenging for scrap, and the yard has plenty to go around. But they should have stuck to looting instead of playing around with sprockets. Bash down! Bomper Bonker's busy ram-banging the door. This is your chance. Fine time to be outside. Let's see. Yes, you can do anything. The sky's the limit. Now, let's take this back to Earth. Wow, you really took that all the way down to the end, in flames. Stay away from that biohazard. You'll want to wash yourself off for a month. It's a wonder some of these up and downs still work. Guess they built machines better in the past. The spent nuclear fuel that Toxanol dumped in the surf had detrimental effects on the marine habitats, while the overflowing landfills contaminated the groundwater. Combined, this sent their world hurtling on an inevitable road to ruin. Need to brush up on my Wando, but I have a feeling he believes it was you that caused the bang at the yard. Oh, and he says he knows you. You used to call him Gizmo. He gave you the oil-greased hands when he taught you how to upcycle. Gizmo remembers you as a nice kidling, and he can still sense the warmth of your good heart. But Gizmo says how you experience a memory can be different. You know the story, but sometimes the truth it brings is personal. He hopes you remember that one time he taught you to upcycle, and hopes you've had some use for it over the years. Gizmo says he also has re-memories from the long gone, but unlike you, he doesn't think of the past, for it's gone. He understands history made Loopaloopin a big part of your past, your present, and soon, your future. You still believe there's some good in everyone. You still have hope for tomorrow. He says you should know that what's meant to be will always find a way, but history shouldn't consume you. Gizmo encourages that. You should forgive, but never forget. It'll provide some comfort to your soul and keep the memory of lost loved ones in your heart.
Fan that flame!
Beat out that spark before it starts.
It was so young, so fragile. It had so much to give.
Better to take it down now while you still can.
Fire catches. Eventually.
Would like to know if you ever doubt the choices you made on the path that brought you to this point. Would you have been happier going in a different direction? Supposes that's all any of us can do. Hard to believe the world is actually going to survive. Just seemed impossible till now. Grateful to you for coming back and doing your best to change things. You were the only chance they had. Wonders if you liked working with the Myriad. They always seemed so centered and so seeking. Thinks that's more than most are. It's hard to keep to a path like that. But that's not important now. Gizmo says it's taken a long time to bring the past up to the present, and where you go from here is up to you. You need to set the past aside, at least for now. He can't leave the Underyard as he has no protection against the vacuum in the dead zone, so you need to salvage scrap to upcycle the Mekton, starting with the old crate outside. You should return when you've retrieved the scrap. There's no time to waste if you want to make the Mekton strong enough to fight the Jumbo Puff. It's the part of the land that suffered most from the apocalypse. It's deprived of oxygen, making it next to impossible for anything but creatures that were most contorted by the contamination. Balance is the key. Feel that? It's a lack of air. Says that's enough to get the Mekton functional. You'll have an engine, a fuel soaker, a gun and a gathering net, but no armor, nor enough oxygen supply. Something he devised to salvage valuables from the ground. There are usually spots hidden beneath puddles of oily goo where you can use the net. He's been working on another project for the Mekton, a cannon, but it needs ammunition, and by that he means the scripts. He says if they're trained right, they'll turn into a distraction for the jumbo puff. The best way to find scripts is to go talk to Moog. He knows the ins and outs of every breathing thing left alive after the apocalypse. Unfortunately, this means you'll have to venture farther out into the dead zone than Moog's camp on the steep depot. Once you find Moog, he'll be able to give you directions to where you'll find scripts. Gizmo thinks he's a little peculiar, but very knowledgeable. He has the ins and outs of all monster and creature whereabouts. The grease monkey's Mekton is built sturdy, just like himself. Can you imagine how this place used to look before the dead oil flood? The light you see at night is brighter than you think. Might want to hold your breath before you head any further. You're about to witness the breathtaking vistas of what's known as the Dead Zone. That over there is Steepo Depot, the cliffside that Moog hangs on to. Back to your own stompers. Time to let something else do the walking. This one's impressed to see you out here. He figured you'd be dead by now. Not many are as tough and clever as you must be. Monster Hunter hears many things on the wind. Luke says that all your power doesn't do you a bit of good if you're not willing to pull the trigger when the time comes. Choosing what to kill and what to spare are the most important decisions you'll make. You might have a steady aim, but you need to be sure that you pick your targets with care. It's hard to make those life or death decisions for others, but someone's got to do it. Otherwise, they'll do it themselves, and you know they'll miss. When it comes to monsters, he mostly picks who dies. Says it's wild that the world seems to be coming back, but he supposes that means more monsters for him to shoot. Wonders why you work so hard to keep things alive. Bullets help thin the herd instead. Says you should give up on working with the stubborn myriad. He keeps trying to put out their lights and they keep putting up new ones. Says they keep the monsters away. He needs them closer, not farther. Enough of that, right? He says the wildlife, nature, has changed and turned against us. Instincts of survival took over when the world changed. Not sure about their veggie diet anymore, and if it's changed, who knows what it's done with the chemical composition of their body output. Right now, though, he feels he's come to a point where he's got a pretty clear idea on the whereabouts of monsters, both tall and short. Says as big as they are, the world is bigger. To find where they are, you need to see where they've been. Boog says you must learn to walk before you can run. It takes practice before you can call yourself a monster hunter. Fortunately for you, he can help. He understands you need to start off with something small before you go big. There's no better place to start than a squip cave. Hunting down a couple of these little critters for yourself should keep you on your toes. Says you stick to the hunting and shots present themselves later.